Let me read the letter into the record. October 12, 2022, Executive Council, Council Chamber, State House, Boston, Mass. Dear Councilors, I'm pleased to nominate Michelle L. Kelley to the position of Associate Justice of the District Court. I submit the nomination for the advice and consent of the Executive Council pursuant to Part 2, Chapter 2 of the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Mass. I'm proposing the nominee's resume for inconvenience. Sincerely, Charles D. Baker. The vice is the Honorable Christopher Welch. With that, we will hear from...
Excuse me. I don't have any questions of this nominee, and I think you're going to be superb. So I just wish you the best of luck. We talked before at some length, so good luck to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Okay, so we're going to hear from Judge Vitale.
Good afternoon, members of the council. I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak on behalf of Clerk Kelley. Thank you to Clerk Kelley for inviting me here. I think that this is a great occasion for the Commonwealth. Michelle Kelley has been an outstanding clerk, assistant clerk magistrate in the district court. I think she will be a valuable asset to the district court and in whichever courthouse she sits. I can speak to her qualifications in three different areas. First, as a new judge, when I started out 8 years ago, Michelle Kelley was an assistant clerk and was somebody that welcomed me to Region 2 of the district court, specifically in Rentham. She was very helpful in helping me adjust to the new position of being a neutral arbiter as opposed to a litigant on one side or the other. I think she has a very fair and balanced temperament, and I think that her assistance in some very specific areas were very helpful to me. I, as many of you know, was a public defender and a lifelong criminal defense attorney, and she helped ease me into civil practice with her wealth of knowledge with respect to civil, and I can specifically remember discussing wage attachments and how to handle trustee process with her. And I thought that as a judge, she was very helpful in helping me make the transition to the bench. I also have the fortune to be the regional administrative judge that covers Rentham District Court. And I'm fortunate to have First Justice there, Tom Finnegan, and a clerk there, Michelle Kelley, that makes Rentham one of those courts that I never have to worry about. They're in capable hands at all times. I think that Secretary Kelley really has become somebody on whom I can depend in the most critical of situations during the pandemic, when there was something that was out of the ordinary that needed to be handled remotely. She not only was able to do it, but she also was named to the Remote Civil Motor Vehicle Proceedings Committee by Judge Dawley because of her ability to adapt to such a changing landscape in the district court. And I think that's why she's probably on so many committees, is because she does have this versatility and ability to handle criminal, civil, clerk's office functions, judicial functions in her magisterial role, and really has been an asset to me when I have conflict in other courts. She's the clerk on whom I call to have a steady hand and voice and leadership in dealing with complex situations. And then the last capacity I'll speak to her is as a person. I think both she and Judge Finnegan are exemplars of judicial temperament. I often say that court take on the personality of their first justice, but fortunately in Rentham's taken on the personality of their first justice and their clerk. They really do have even hands in dealing with pro se litigants, defendants, plaintiffs, criminal defendants, and I think that judicial temperament that she already possesses will be an asset to any court in which she sits. I know you've all seen her application and her qualifications, and I would just reiterate that in 2013, when I didn't know what Mass Courts was, the database that we use in all the courts, she was she was given the Trial Court Excellence Award for her use of mass courts. And then subsequently, she's been named to 2 separate strategic plan committees by the Executive Office of the Trial Court. She's been named to the Civil Proceedings Committee. She's been named to a number of different SJC committees on standing orders. And that's not by accident. It's because Michelle Kelley is somebody who really does have the citizens of the Commonwealth at heart. Who really does an excellent job in whatever professional capacity she has experienced within the trial court. I expect nothing less than great success for her as a judge. And I'm sad that we won't have her as a clerk magistrate should you see fit to confirm her. I'm thankful that I will have her as a colleague if you see fit to confirm her.
Mr. Chair,
Thank you. Yeah, Council Kennedy?
I said he knew some pretty good judges down in Region 2, wouldn't you say?
I agree.
I think you get some of the best in the state.
I think this would continue that tradition.
I agree. And I'm going to ask you something just a little off. I'm down 43 pounds. What are you down?
Now 66 pounds.
I
Wow,
want to catch you.
100 pounds in the room. Thank you very much, Judge. Appreciate it.
Judge?
Next, we'll hear from Judge Finnegan,
We already started something.
Milton, Massachusetts, I believe.
Thank you, council. Thank you for having me. Thank you, Michelle Kelley, for Clerk Magistrate Kelley, for having me. I am Tom Finnegan. I'm the first justice of Rentham District Court. I feel like Judge Vitale might have hacked into my computer because he took a lot of my remarks. But at any rate, I've been the first justice since the summer of 2017. So had the opportunity to work with Clerk Kelley for the last 5 years. And, you know, I've heard just time and time again from many people, attorneys, that they find Rentham one of their favorite courthouses to come to. And I know that, you know, I was prosecuted before I became a judge. And I know that the clerk magistrate and the first justice plays a big role in setting the tone for the courthouse. And I know that Clerk Kelley and her staff that she's put together and how they operate in an efficient manner and make the court a welcoming place for people. It just shows volumes about what type of person that she is. I know for myself and Judge Vitale and other people here in the courtroom, here in the room, I like going to courthouses. It's where we're comfortable. We see our friends and it's where we go on a daily basis. But I know that for a lot of people, you're really seeing them at kind of the worst moment in their lives, whether they're a victim or a party on restraining order or just a civil, you know, small claims litigant, and it's kind of a bewildering place if you're not accustomed to going there. And I've seen Clerk Kelley, you know, time and time again, take the time to go out of her way and assist people, get them to where they need to be and answer their questions and show just tremendous patience. And, you know, I think that being part of being a district court judge, being able to listen, and, you know, you can have all the legal skills in the world, but if you can't hear people, you know, you're better off, you know, on the appeals court. But I know that, you know, Michelle Kelley, if it goes without saying, she's a good listener, and I think that anybody that knows her well would agree with me on that. And I think that, you know, parties appreciate that when they come to the courthouse. Pandemic, you know, the district court has always been a face-to-face type of business, if it is a business, but the pandemic changed that, and, you know, we were getting standing orders from the SJC on about a monthly basis, and myself, Michelle Kelley, and her staff were adapting to those, and she never complained, you know, whatever it took to go remote or reschedule things, literally putting up barricade, the plexiglass and handing out masks and crawling around, hooking up wires, and she did that without complaint. And we were all, you know, being focused on, for myself and Magistrate Kelley and some of her staff were here today, was to make sure the court remained open and accessible to the public. A court like Rentham is a kind of a small court, so it is kind of like a family, like a lot of small district courts. And, you know, we have good times and bad, and Michelle is always there to, you know, help us along and, you know, support the people when they're down or celebrate the special occasion of birthdays or births or retirements and so forth. And, you know, as Judge Vitale said, you know, we will certainly miss her if she is confirmed, but I do think that the loss to Rentham District Court will be much more offset by the gain to the District Court manager and the public at large. So Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, Council Farrell.
Judge, I want to say thank you. I've only been to your court a couple of times, and you didn't know who I was, but I observed what went on there. And you have a great reputation. You treated everyone with respect, let everyone be heard. You did the right thing for my client twice. The clerk's office was outstanding. I know she has a stellar reputation. Can't find anyone to say one bad word about you, even if you try.
Husband and son are here. so-
Was it? All right, we'll talk to him later. I don't have any questions, but I want to say thank you for coming down tonight.
Oh, I'm sorry, Councilor Renz.
I have a question, Judge. Stand if you want. You're the first justice of the Rentham District Court. Chuck Kelley, the clerk. How close do you work together?
Well, physically, it's quite close, and so on a daily basis, it's one of the things, and I know the trend now is to sort of build regional justice centers. I understand that, the economies of scale that comes with that, big courses like Lowell and Brockton and so forth. But our building is an old building. It's a compact building, so we work together on a daily basis. It'd be tough not to see her on a daily. I can't get in and out of the building without walking by her door, which is always open. So we work closely together.
And you obviously have a good working relationship. You talk to, you plan sort of what has to be done and what, it's good. Two things. Counselor Jubinville, Counselor Kennedy. I'm an attorney, but I haven't been to court in a while. They speak very highly of you. They say, gee, he's a fair guy. And I guess that's all we can expect of anyone. But I did want you to.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, Council.
I just want to say, you had two great witnesses, very proud of my votes, and they made me proud. So, I just want to thank you for your service.
8 years, 8 years, yeah.
8 years, wow. So, tell me, can you tell me something about the nominee through the pandemic, how she proceeded? Because it must have been difficult. I know a lot of it was Zoom.
Yeah, well, we would get the standing orders, myself, clerk, and the first assistant, Leslie Hazeltine was here, and we would sit together and kind of pour through them, and try to figure out what they meant, interpret them, and and I think throughout the pandemic, we were only closed 2 days, and some of that was just luck. Other courthouses, bigger courthouses had to close because there were positive cases and so forth, but we kind of kept that down and tried to keep the doors open, so to speak, and get the conference line going, much to the bane of our existence. Sometimes people calling in and running a lawnmower in the background and so forth, baby crying, but we sort of persevered and really did it without any Kelley, real complaints.
Great, that's great. Well, thank you both for coming.
Happy to be here.
Testimonies meant a lot to me.
Thank you.
Okay, that does it with the witnesses here. Any witnesses against? Say again, any witnesses against? Hearing none, why don't you introduce the people that are here on your behalf?
So starting to my right, my husband, Tom Kelley, my son, Matthew Kelley, and Mark Fabiano, who's an assistant clerk magistrate with me at the Rentham District Court. Leslie Hazeldine, who is the first assistant clerk magistrate at the Rentham District Court. And the judges who spoke, thank you very much for your words. This gentleman here is Ray Amaru.
He's your guardian angel.
I don't even know, he is like a father to me. I worked in this building in 1987 as a house page. I just gave my family and friends a little tour. It was a nice diversion to what's happening here today. It took my nerves away a little bit. But I was 18 when I met Ray, and I was in college at Emerson College. I left Worcester where I grew up, and Ray was like a parent to me. He was honestly like a father to me. When I was broke, he gave me money. When I needed advice, he gave me advice. He has continued to be a friend, a confidant, and again, more like a father to me than even a friend. It goes beyond just a friendship. Beyond that, beyond my personal relationship with Ray, he is the best public servant that I have ever met, and I come from a history of public service.
Maybe we should make him the clerk.
I think Judge Finnegan would love him. Ray is in his 64th year, is that correct? As the chief court officer, I know it's something that I count because I'm so proud of him. And we were in touch during the pandemic, you know, as many of us were in touch with him, just asking how he was, making sure that he was safe and everything was good, you know, checking on what was happening here. I know that he had to have, you know, staff here if members were coming, you know, when the sessions were in. So Ray, I don't, this is such a strange forum where you hear, you know, it's not often in the court system where we hear feedback. I know that sounds strange, but we just simply don't live that way in the court system. I don't think you can be a court or a judge if you have a personality where you need pats on the back all the time. So I've been fortunate enough to hear that today from my witnesses. Ray, I'm gonna do that to you just for a moment. I'm so grateful for your friendship, for your support. There has not been a single time that I've called you for anything, just to talk with my own father's illnesses. Anything that I've called you for, you have never let me down. And, you know, he's been here probably since the crack of dawn this morning to greet me. You're a wonderful friend, mentor. Carmine Simonelli, similarly, we were pages together here in 1987. I was pleased when Carmine joined the court system as an assistant clerk. Can't remember what year it was, in the 90s? Yeah. Okay. And Carmine is the first assistant clerk magistrate of the Westboro District Court.
Well, my research tells me that Ray comes into the hearing room here. No one has ever been defeated when Ray comes in.
Yeah.
Kidding me? Take over our offices and get Bruce out of here. Okay, so why don't you, we have a rule here. It's called the law of brevity.
I
Love brevity.
have done my best. I know you have had such a busy day, so I've done my best. I believe that my speech when I was here for clerk magistrate was probably 5 pages, single spaced, but this is very, you did. So I just want to thank the members of the Governor's Council for your consideration of my nomination. A special thanks to Valerie McCarthy and my host counselor, Attorney Jubinville. I'd also like to thank Governor Baker and Lieutenant Governor Polito for nominating me to this incredible position. I'm grateful also for the opportunity that they gave me 5 years ago, appointing me as the clerk magistrate of the Rentham District Court. I want to thank Chief Legal Counsel Bob Ross, Lauren Green Petrino, Emily Gauthier of the JNC for their assistance throughout this process. And again, many thanks to Judge Vitale and Judge Finnegan. I'm grateful for your kind words today and continuous support. I have to give a special thanks to 2 female judges who have been great friends and supporters, former First Justice Emma Jean Johnson-Smith and Judge Julianne Hernan, whose continued encouragement gave me the confidence, frankly, to apply for this position. And thank you to Rentham Court Assistant Clerks Leslie Hazeldine and Mark Fabiano for being here with me today. The other clerks, John Maloney and Denise Donovan, they are taking care of the court business today. I also need to extend my thanks to everyone in the clerk's office at the Rentham District Court. It has truly been my privilege to work with such dedicated and hardworking men and women of the courts, and especially Rentham, which I think is the #1 court in the district courts. I grew up in Worcester to a large and very close Italian-American family. I was the first in my family to go to college. My dad, Tom Grimo, an Army veteran, was a small business owner, and my mother, Pat Grimo, was a seamstress and a homemaker. My mom actually took her first full-time job at age 51. I have one sister, Kim, who is my confidant and the best sister that anyone could ask for. While my parents and sister can't be here today for health and work reasons, I'm grateful for their unending support throughout my life. In 2001, I married my husband, Tom. Tom is my best friend and my partner in life. We have a daughter, Madison, who is 20, and a son, Matthew, who is 17. Madison is a junior in high school. She's actually studying abroad in Florence, Italy, and a junior in college, and she's studying abroad in Italy. She is hopefully going to watch us or watch it later when she's available. I do miss her presence here. She was here 5 years ago when I was nominated for clerk magistrate. Matthew has the good fortune of missing school and football practice today, so thank you, Matthew. And while I'm here for this incredible job opportunity, I do believe that a person's greatest contribution to the world is not something that they do, but someone who they raise. Tom, Madison, and Matthew, thank you always for reminding me what is most important in life. I'm truly honored to sit before you as a nominee to be an Associate Justice in the District Court. As you know by now, I've worked in the court since 1995. As an Assistant Clerk Magistrate and Clerk Magistrate, I have adjudicated thousands of cases from a neutral position for more than 27 years. I'm a dedicated employee and have loved the work I do in the District Court. As a judge, I will continue to help court users at a different level and will impact people more directly. I believe in our justice system, and I hope you will allow me to continue the good work that is done every day in the district courts and vote to confirm my nomination.
Thank you very much.
See you again. And you came to distance. The only time I've ever been to Norfolk was I went out to meet a gentleman that was going to come before us for commutation. The other thing is I did want to mention Ray and my cousin Joe DiNucci were pages, 1959?
He came like a year after me in 1960.
Right. So, he's the dean. Sorry. And, you have wonderful people here that, and this man here should be clerk magistrate, enough said. Anyway, the thing is that I feel about you, and if you remember 5 years ago when you were before me, I said, you should be a judge. 27 years, only working in the district court, you know every aspect of that court, everything, all the workings of it. And, I really meant that 5 years ago. But, you had a lot of responsibility. Some cases are really, heart-rendering. The thing is, as I've said, when I see the J&C application, it doesn't tell me what happened, because you can't put it all in there. You had one that was, it was sad, that someone killed someone that was in the middle of the road. Can you tell us about that one?
That was actually, I believe that was a Somerville District Court case. I was a relatively new assistant clerk magistrate. And, I think that the question was significant cases in my time in the court system. And the reason why that case was so significant to me was because it was just an awesome responsibility as an assistant clerk magistrate to hear a motor vehicle homicide case. I remember when I was told that I would have that hearing that day, oftentimes we don't have an opportunity to review the cases. We just get ready for our hearings and we go in the hearing room. I briefly reviewed the case, and again, it was a challenging case for me as a younger, inexperienced assistant clerk to have that responsibility of such a serious case, but it does go before magistrates when the violator appealed. So it's a probable cause or a show cause determination, probable cause determination on a show cause hearing. So my function when I do any hearings as an assistant clerk or a clerk magistrate is to make a finding on whether or not there is probable cause for the complaint to issue. And if there is probable cause, absent consent of the complainant and continuing the case goes forward, and that's when it moves to the courtroom before a judge. And that's what happened with that case.
And how did it resolve?
Probable cause was found, and it was resolved through a tender of plea by agreement before Judge Mahoney, in fact, I believe was the judge.
I mean, 27 years, you've had all kinds of serious cases. What comes to mind out of all of them that was so serious and it'll always have such meaning to you?
I think the mental health cases probably are the most meaningful because we are greeting, in the clerk's office and in the courtroom for the judges, we're greeting a family, usually a family member, at a really hard time when they have things are so desperate in their lives that they're coming to the court for assistance, help, relief with someone who has alcohol or substance use disorder. And those are challenging times because they get the petition allowed, and then we have to work with the police department to actually have that respondent arrested, on that warrant and brought to the courthouse. So those are challenging cases.
So you've had a lot of mental health cases, and also opioid is, is out there, and that's what you hear every day. How do you deal with those cases? What is the resolve?
In a similar fashion, it would be most often when a family needs help, it's a Section 35 petition that they file. And again, we work with the family after the judge allows the warrant and the petition. We work with the family to have the person brought into the courthouse. They're brought into the courthouse in custody and lock up. And then they are seen by a clinician. An attorney is appointed to represent them. And a judge makes the determination after hearing from the clinician whether or not they meet the criteria for Section 35 commitment.
So you've had so much experience in 27 years, and you've seen a lot of changes, and we've seen a lot of changes in our society, not for the better, unfortunately. So what improvements do you see that you would like to see that's needed in the courthouse? There has to be something.
Yeah, I think that we need to be better at technology. We realized that when we were faced with the immediate need for technology during the pandemic. I think we still have that need. We've come so far because of the pandemic, but we still have to be better with technology. Every user in the trial court does not have a laptop. So in the Rentham District Court, we are not able to have workers work remotely, for many reasons, but one is technology. We simply don't have the ability to have employees work from home because most employees don't have laptops, things like that. But that, I would say technology.
I was concerned about during the pandemic. One of the things I was concerned about was the 209As.
Mm-hmm.
And in looking into some of these courthouses, they were actually doing them on the phone. Were you doing them on the phone?
We were, yeah.
See, to me, you have to look someone in the eye, you have to see their body, I can't even imagine that you feel, well, I made the right decision talking on the phone.
Yeah, it was a very short term.
How did you do that?
It was a short term. We just didn't have a solution because the courthouses, many of our plaintiffs on the restraining orders did not want to come to the courthouse. And there were times, as Judge Finnegan said, that we weren't open. So we didn't have a choice. As soon as we were able to have plaintiffs on restraining orders come to the courthouse, we did. And as soon as we had the equipment to do things remotely with video, with Zoom and other means, with iPads and different things like that, then we were able to have plaintiffs appearing by video.
Well, I mean, from the outside looking in, it seems like during this pandemic, which I would say would happen, domestic violence increased. I was concerned about child abuse because that child can't talk, and if they're at school age, they're not going to school, so they're not telling the teacher's not going to know. How did you feel about that situation?
I can definitely confirm that the numbers, I can speak for Rentham, of course, only the number of restraining orders did increase during COVID. I would have to believe that was throughout the courts, but they did increase, in fact. Well, there was a day that we actually, Leslie and I actually thought about that and counted and noticed that there was an increase, pretty significant in the number of restraining orders. As to children at home, unfortunately, it's not something that we ever heard about. Obviously, that's a fact on the restraining order that the judge would consider. As far as, stay away orders and whatnot, but it wasn't something that I personally dealt with.
That is a concern. So during the pandemic, were you going to court or were you on Zoom? How did you do it?
No, I personally was in court every day. It's something that, my family, when all other families were home, playing games and watching movies and shows, unfortunately, for my family, I was at work. My husband was home and he was taking care of everything with our kids. They were, again, high school age, so there wasn't a whole lot to worry about with remote learning. But my husband took care of everything. I was, many of us in the court would would laugh that we could leave the courthouse on our way out of work with a blindfold on. And we could, there weren't any cars on the road. It was very eerie.
Yeah, that is.
It was frankly the hardest I've ever worked. I think my colleagues would agree. The three of us were.
Did it close though?
We closed, as the judge said, I believe it was, I believe we're only closed for 2 days. We were very lucky with COVID. We were pretty vigilant with, the 6 feet distancing and the plexiglass everywhere. We also had very, very little staffing. The staff did not come in. The management came in.
Yeah, we talk a lot of cases. Now, is there one that was, that we haven't mentioned that will always stay with you and it was so meaningful?
Just a mental health, Section 35. It was a person who suffered from alcohol use disorder, and his parents were in their 80s. And we had to be very creative to try to get the gentleman picked up by the police because he was living in their home. The family came in to petition for the Section 35 at the end of the day, and then in the morning, the Norfolk police picked him up and brought him to the courthouse. There were a lot of challenges with that case. He was not medically cleared after the Section 35 commitment was authorized by the judge. So he was actually sent not to a facility, he was sent to the hospital, and then he was discharged, and we worked with the clinician and the family and the hospital to get him back.
7 years in the district court, you've seen every aspect. Is there anything that you have to learn, any learning curve in this?
Yes, I think we still learn every day.
I mean, for you in the new position.
As a district court judge. I'm certain there will be things that I'll have to learn. I've been in my job, as you stated, for such a long time, and I look to my colleagues because something will come up. Every week something comes up, and we talk about it together and research it and say, here it is.
But you work so closely with the judges that, that you can anticipate, the cases.
I think so. I think that the fact that I have been a trier of fact and an adjudicator, for thousands of cases, I think that part of the job will not be challenging. I think I'll face the same questions that I face every day as a clerk magistrate, just applying the relevant law to the facts.
Here, almost 23 years, and I've never had anyone come before me that spent 27 years career in the district court. So there isn't anything that you don't know, and even as as it's changed and processes of change, you have learned along the way. So I'm so pleased that you were appointed and that you're going to be the judge. And thank you for all the time that you afforded me.
Thank you.
It was my pleasure.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
And I have to tell you, I have a grandson, Matthew, too.
Great name.
So, yeah. So, anyway, no, it's interesting to talk about our family background. Very interesting, very similar. My dad was from Sicily and.
Sorry, Councilor Devaney, time is up. Councilor Ryan, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Timed, and I'm here.
Continuances. What's your philosophy on continuances?
We in the Rentham Court, thanks to Judge Finnegan, we do administrative continuances in the office by agreement. I'll be very honest, I don't feel that we should be wasting the court's time, the judge's time, if we haven't agreed upon continuance. So we do not bring those cases into courtroom. We have it in writing through email now where we will confirm this case is continued by agreement of the parties. We have it in writing by the DA and the defense attorney. We are complimented often by attorneys because we do not require, I know some courts require the attorneys to come in physically. Some courts have them zooming in, calling in. Again, as long as it isn't a serious case and and one side doesn't oppose the continuance, we do continue cases. And I happen to agree with it.
With all due respect, those are the easy ones, when everyone agrees. What about the situations where it's criminal lawsuit? And one of the sides, it's a civil case. Someone's asking for a continuance. What's your philosophy?
I think if there's a valid,
Let's even make it one side as opposed to the other.
I think if there's a valid reason for a continuance, I would grant it. If I were the judge, I would grant it. It would have to be, there'd have to be a really strong reason why that case shouldn't be continued. Jury trials would probably be where I would have the most concern. If we have jurors in the building ready to go, witnesses ready to go, it would have to be a strong reason to continue a jury trial. But for most other instances, I would.
I'd say it's a jury trial. I mean, it can't be the only case on, is it? I mean, aren't there other cases scheduled for the same day?
Yes, yeah.
So, there's, well, about how many cases, whether civil or criminal, are on any given day in Rentham?
In the jury session, we have 4 scheduled, a minimum of 4 scheduled every day.
How many judges are there?
2.
Okay, so if one of the 4 cases says, I want a continuance.
Definitely, yeah. I would definitely continue that case.
Even though the other side says no.
Yes, because I would listen to the reasoning why, but again, in your scenario, we would have other cases that we can queue up for jury.
Okay. Now, let's assume it's on it's just the 3rd time it's been on. Say it's a civil case, I could have said either. It's a civil case, it's the 3rd time. It's on for a jury trial. What are you doing?
I would listen to yeah.
Well, let's see if we make it easier. Time on, someone says, they have another matter in a different court. And the other side wants to go forward. How close is the continuance? What are you doing?
I would likely allow the continuance. There's plenty of business that we do. Again, the issues that would concern me would be who's in the courtroom waiting for this case to be heard? Who's waiting for this case? That would be something I would want to know.
I'm not sure what that means.
How much advance notice did we get?
With all due respect, I'm not sure what that means. Usually, in a civil case, one of the 2 parties will file a motion for continuance. So the other side is aware that somebody's requesting a continuance, I would say at least a week in advance. So, who's in the courtroom? Well, they knew he or she was going to ask for it. As Councilor Jubinville says all the time, if the case is continued.
Oh, no, I would continue, that civil case, I would continue without question. I'm talking about if we have a criminal case and we have a victim and a witness who's,
I'm just talking just on the same page of civil cases.
I would be very hard for me to deny a civil motion.
So now it's a 2016 civil case. Okay, 2016, it's an old case. And it obviously has been on a number of times. Someone says, plaintiff said, it doesn't matter who, I have a federal case on that same day. Does the federal case automatically go ahead of the state case? And you may not know that answer.
I don't know that answer, but I would allow that continuance.
And you would allow it because what, it's the federal case?
Well, I think it would be a valid reason. If an attorney sends a motion to continue, and in that it states that he has to be in another court, that he can't get, he can't change the date, or he has a federal case, I would absolutely allow that.
My understanding, and I don't really know the answer, maybe Judge Finnick, but I've asked this question a lot. Most people say the federal case goes first. I don't know what the judge's feeling is on that. He's got a poker face over there, so I don't know. Most people seem to think the federal case. In other words, I got a case and I have a federal matter. It's a 2016 case. This federal matter is only a 2021 case, but you know what? Federal case goes first. Even if, I don't know the rule, but what, even if you don't know the rule, what's your sense on that? Because somebody could take the position, hey, the state case is 6, 7 years old. That federal case is only 2 years old. Let them wait. What are you going to do?
I think I would, in that scenario, I would, if the attorney has to be in another court and is filing the motion, I would allow the continuance, but I would make it a quick date so that we can resolve the case. If it's a 2016 case, I would allow the motion, but say, this is an old case, this has to get tried. I don't want to wait, I want to get as quick a date as possible, and I would probably have the clerk mark the case, no further continuances for that party.
And I don't want to hop on this, but I do hear these issues. That same case, but the Judge O'Reilly, I'm making up the name, he heard the case 6 months before, And he said, no further continuance. And now it's in front of you 6 months later. Now someone says, hey, I got a motion, I got a federal case. What are you doing? The previous judge allowed the continuance, but that judge said no further continuances. And just so you know, you got two attorneys here who are extremely busy. Counselor Kennedy could be in, without exaggeration, but I'm being serious.
Yeah.
They don't have a lot of staff. They have basically one person show. Jubinville, I call him every day. Yeah, I'm here. I mean, these people are everywhere. So what are you gonna do in that situation where the previous judge put an order of no further continuances? It's now in front of you. This is a 2016 case. It says, I got a federal case and so forth.
In that scenario, if a previous judge said no further continuances for this party, I would not be inclined to allow that motion.
Okay, well, I'm gonna give you an example. I don't know if you know this. Have you ever done any social security work?
No.
Well, social security is federal. They do not allow continuances. I don't know if you know any friends who are indigent or who can't pay their bills on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis. I don't know. I know a lot of people like that. It's tough out there. And the problem with a social security case, it takes about 2.5 years. The average case takes 2.5 years to go in front of the judge. And if you continue with that case, if somehow you got really lucky and continue the federal case, it could be another year. First of all, it's so difficult to continue it. But if you're lucky enough to continue it, it could be another year. And this person, guess what? Has no money, been sleeping under a bridge, homeless. But when I hear your answer, I get nervous about that because I care about those people. I care about those people. I understand. It's been on 7 times, 8 times. It's a 2012 case. It's a civil case. And that person's bringing the civil case. That's important. The person bringing the civil case. It's the plaintiff. So if anyone's harmed, it's the plaintiff, but he or she, the plaintiff, is requesting a continuance because of a federal matter. I can't envision any reason, again, I'm not the judge, how you would not grant a continuance. I don't care if it's the 10th continuance. I don't care if it's a 2010 case. Now remember, if it's a Social Security disability case, in order to receive Social Security disability, and I know you don't do it, you have to be totally disabled. You can't have worked 5 of the last, or whatever, I don't know what it is, you were all a little different like that. You could not have worked in the last year. Most of these people haven't worked in years. And you might not grant a continuance for a federal Social Security case?
Well, if the moving party is the plaintiff in a civil case and gave those facts, if the attorney gave me those facts, I would 100% allow that motion. I would take I just want to be very clear, and again, my colleagues are here, both the judge and the assistant clerks. I give everyone continuances. There is really no one, Leslie and I have gone 10 rounds arguing over continuances because I give every single person continuances. I give students for show cause hearings continuances for their entire school year. So I want to make sure that it's clear for you, just because I realize this is important. I 100% am in agreement with accommodating parties, whether it's a pro se or whether it's a plaintiff in a civil case or whether it's a defense attorney in a criminal case. So I would 100% listen to your facts on your motion, and given those facts, I would never deny that motion.
I appreciate the reason I brought that up. I have a national Social Security disability law firm. We handle cases in every single state in the country. And not often, but once in a great while, you have a conflict. And very rarely a judge will deny it, and you feel so bad for this client that got the federal case, and you're scrambling to find an attorney in Tucson, Arizona. Can you handle this case? Do me a favor. And it's difficult because if we don't get a continuance, that person is in deep, deep trouble. These people become, believe me, they're really sad stories. They become suicidal. They do crazy things. And you hate that to happen because some judge wouldn't continue the case. That's why I'm sort of passionate about it. But I do appreciate you.
I would never be that judge. I can promise you that. I would never be that judge. I would never hear, even half of those facts and deny that motion.
Well, thank you, I appreciate it. Just to let you know, Councilor Jubinville and Kennedy, the two of them, they do a lot of criminal work. They speak extremely highly of you.
Thank you.
Highly recommended. And I did get another call. A call from a friend of mine. I've known from a long time. He says, the best appointment I ever made was you. You know what his name was?
Can guess.
What a good guy. You're the best. And I wanted you to know that.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very
so
much.
much.
Thank you.
Councilman?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am glad that we've established that you know the difference between the federal and the state courts, and that you're not applying. You come highly recommended by a plethora of people. You are one of the most beloved people in the court system, honestly, that I've, 10 years now, have witnessed and seen. And it's not just that they like you and care for you, they have deep respect for you. And, as Councilor Kennedy would say, I think you're the whole package. You don't just have the brains, you've got the demeanor, and you know how to play, you know how to get along with people, to play well in the sandbox. So, that's all right. If she's mad at you, she's probably right. But anyway, yeah, there you go. I don't have any questions, Chair.
Thank you.
It's honestly to sit here and he's an expert in his field, and he's tough, and he knows what he's doing, and he asks you really good probing questions. And, it would be foolish for me to try to follow up with that, because that's the thing. Anyway, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Councilor Kennedy?
I said to your son a minute ago that I've known you since you were about his age, and I was a little off, 18. It's a long time.
Hard to believe.
Yeah. And like you, I went to the Ray Ambrose School of Law, as did Carmine Simonelli, as did Judge Barrett, Tommy Barrett. We all grew up as pages different times in this building, working for Ray. And everything you said about him that applies with me at least as much, if not tenfold. I've certainly known you, as I said, since you were 18, and followed your career and tried to nudge you along the way a little bit here and there when I could.
Thank you.
And I'm very proud of you. I'm very proud to vote for you next week, hopefully.
Thank you.
Thank you. I've dealt with you since you've been a clerk, and I must say you've been very generous and kind with continuances, so Councilor Ryan has nothing to worry about, because sometimes you even call lawyers when it's a packed court, try to move cases, so you're pretty good with that. You have a wonderful staff there, and it's a wonderful court. And I think you're eminently qualified for a judgeship. I'm going to be pleased to vote for you next week. Thank
Thank you very much.
Good job.
you.